of the Peace and Stability Subcommittee of the ANC NEC, led by Comrade Tony again. Our discipline and commitment paid off, and we were on the verge of holding a unity conference when the COVID-19 lockdown led to it being delayed. Furthermore, our MKMVA members throughout played a constructive role in all national, provincial, and local government structures. In line with the relevant resolutions of the 54th National Conference applicable to MKMVA, we concentrated on programs to promote the well-being of military veterans. Sadly, our discipline has not been reciprocated by our leaders in the NEC, the provincial executive councils, regional structures, and the ANC ministers deployed in government. The MKMVA wanted a full and autonomous Ministry of Military Veterans. This was denied to us in 2007 in Polokwane. And again, as disciplined cadres, we accepted for the Department of Military Veterans to be integrated into the Ministry of Defense, while we still continue to motivate and work for an independent Ministry of Military Veterans. We are deeply disappointed by the poor performance of the DMV. While we acknowledge some services are delivered with regards to housing and education for military veterans and their dependents, service delivery is a bureaucratic nightmare and woefully inadequate. The incomplete Department of Military Veterans database of military veterans is an insult to many ex-Mkhonto veterans whose names are still omitted. However, we appreciate that the process has now started to correct this situation. A majority of MK veterans continue to languish in poverty. In 2007, resolutions were taken to address the plight of ex-MK veterans. 13 years later, these are still not implemented. While we appreciate the delivery of housing to some of our comrades, including education to our dependents and members of Mkhonto, many of our people on a daily basis still go to sleep without food. Sadly, in this period of the COVID-19 lockdown, matters have just become worse. No self-respecting nation does not take care of its own freedom fighters. We should hang our heads in shame. We have hoped for the ANC NEC to act decisively with regards to corruption, but instead they continue to fail to take decisive action. Instead, there are attempts to embroil the state security agencies in the factional politics of one-upmanship that dominates the conduct of the current ANC NEC. Sadly, factionalism makes the NEC not to pursue theft and corruption everywhere and in all its manifestations. In this regard, the civil society and religious institutions are complicit. When it suited organizations such as the Save South Africa campaign, the so-called 101 veterans who acted outside any ANC organizational mandate, and sadly even the South African Council of Churches, to target President Zuma with allegations of corruption. They were daily extolling themselves as paragons of morality and fighters of corruption par excellence. Now their silence in action about the massive COVID-19 looting speak volumes about selective morality and sheer hypocrisy. Even when they do, on the odd occasion, say something about the current wave of massive corruption, they are quiet about those political leaders whom they favor, while selectively using allegations of corruptions against those whom they want to target. Brave and principled Umkhonto cadres challenged serious problems in the ANC in exile in the late 1960s, and ensured that the Morogoro Consultative Conference, which was held from the 25th of April to the 1st of May 1969, where problems of leadership elitism, cronyism, corruption, and maltreatment of Umkhonto we Sizwe cadres that were raised in the Honey Memorandum were openly and decisively addressed. MKMVA now again takes a similar stance and insists that the serious ills of factionalism, corruption, and elitism must be addressed urgently and immediately. In this regard, the national office bearers of MKMVA will request an urgent meeting with the national office bearers of the ANC to engage as a matter of the utmost urgency and raise our concerns and demands. As was the case in the Morogoro Conference, we have a revolutionary duty to ensure that our intervention will and must be decisive. We are fully aware that the gains of our liberation struggle and indeed the future of the African National Congress is at stake. All of this culminates into a most awful situation that leaves MKMVA with no other option but to stand up in defense of our people and our beloved liberation movement. The ANC is in grave danger of losing its position as the leader of society and being destroyed. We can never allow that to happen. As the liberation soldiers of Umkhonto we Sizwe, our People's Liberation Army, we must always be true to the oath of allegiance that we took. MKMVA demands that all corruption must be cleaved open to the bone and cleaned up without any fear or favor. This will only be possible if factionalism is rooted out. Specifically, also the way in which selective outrage against only certain manifestations of corruption is used as an insidious tool in factional battles. The full grand scale of the looting of COVID-19 solidarity funds must be exposed and dealt with. MKMVA will not tolerate the attempts by some amongst us, with the assistance of the mainstream media that is sympathetic to them, to draw attention away from the mega looters with sensational media articles about corruption regarding small personal protective equipment tenders. This terrible tendency to go for mainly small black entrepreneurs and expose their corruption in order to divert attention away from the big cases of corruption must be fought tooth and nail. We are not saying that if smaller entrepreneurs are involved in corruption, that they should not be apprehended, but it cannot be allowed that action against them is used to cover up truly big corruption of hundreds of millions and billions of rands. Such behavior is corrupt in itself and must be exposed no matter who among our ANC comrades and leadership are involved. The issue of COVID-19 looting is truly the litmus test for President Ramaphosa. The president campaigned on an anti-corruption ticket for unity in the ANC to successfully lynch the boil of corruption that is now poisoning the whole body of our liberation movement. Factionalism and selective morality that destroyed unity must be rooted out. For the sake of the restoration of the credibility of the ANC, MKMVA insists and call upon the president, our president, that he must act decisively against all the COVID-19 emergency fund looters, no matter what their proximity to him may be. He certainly has the constitutional powers to do so. and he has the Special Investigation Unit and other security agencies at his disposal to act immediately. The MKMVA is perplexed about the role that the announced interministerial committee will play, except to get involved in parallel work and thus muddy the waters. MKMVA therefore calls for the interministerial committee to be dissolved and for the security agencies to be allowed the freedom to do their work without any interference or hindrance. MKMVA acknowledges the hard work of President Ramaphosa, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, and all members of the National Coronavirus Command Council in the fight to contain the COVID-19 pandemic and to save lives. We continue to pledge our full support for that ongoing effort. The serious concerns that we raise in this NEC statement of MKMVA are part of that overall commitment. In conclusion, as disciplined liberation soldiers, we pledge our continuing revolutionary loyalty to the African National Congress. Our Umkhonto weSizwe commissars, with all their unequaled experience and training, is a political resource for the ANC, and they must be deployed and utilized. We rededicate ourselves to protect our beloved liberation movement from any form of malfeasance and counter-revolutionary behavior from within or outside that can derail its historical duty as the liberation vanguard of the people of South Africa. And I thank you. Over to you, Comrade Khan.
Thank you, Comrade Kebi. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now go over to questions. First of all, we will take questions here inside the room, and then afterwards, we will take questions on the Zoom link that had been established. I would really like to ask you to please stick to the issues that are raised in the statement. It is not our intention to today deal with any other issues that are not covered in the statement. We will now proceed with questions. Yes, ma'am?
So in the statement, you say you're distraught and concerned about wanton corruption, but the question would be that, during former President Jacob's time, you were seen as a vehicle to actually defend him against these allegations. And now that it seems that the people who are facing allegations that they come from Ramaphosa's camp, why do you believe that you have a moral compass to lead the ANC out of what you described as a crossover? And on this issue of factionalism and this unity, do you believe that the same fate, you haven't spoken necessarily about consistency, the same fate of Kusela Digo and Ryan Nelson having to go through integrity should actually happen to Secretary General Ismail Hakim when he presents himself as his son, or allegations that his son has also benefited from EPD tenders? And then just a courtesy question, I mean, we keep talking about wanting decisive leadership. What exactly do you want? You haven't necessarily provided, a clear plan and solutions as to what exactly you want to do to get out of this quagmire, solution, what the ANC needs to do.
Thanks. That was actually 3 questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the president of MKMVA, Comrade Kebi Mapatsu, to respond to them, and then, of course, any of the other members of the panel that we have here will also be able to respond. We will take every time 1 question at a time, and then respond to it and proceed with the next question. Thank you. I see Comrade Des has stood up. He will first respond, and then if Comrade Kebi wants to add more, he can do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Carl. I just want to respond to the issue of the allegations that were leveled against the former president, His Excellency President Zuma, as compared to our current position. I think if you have been following our statement and also our actions around the matter of Comrade President Zuma, we have been very, very clear that President Zuma must be accorded the necessary platform, of course, to deal with allegations leveled against him. But also, we have been very, very consistent in calling for fair processes, to be, of course, to be availed, for President Zuma and any other person where this particular person is accused of corruption. We have never been selective in terms of calling for corruptions, or maybe calling for individuals who with allegations of corruption not to be pursued. Our position has been very, very clear that everyone who's accused of corruption should be subjected to fair processes, either through our justice system or any other platform within the organization. And this is the same thing that we are calling for even now. We are saying the ANC must obviously break the silence and definitely provide leadership around some of these issues. It can't be correct that people are accused of corruption and we don't hear much from the ANC about this. We can't be correct that people are being victimized in their workplaces, in state-owned enterprises, and we don't hear the voice of the ANC on such matters. It can't be correct that money is being paid to wrong companies in some of the state-owned enterprises, and the ANC silence is deafening on such matters. So we are calling for the ANC to provide leadership on all these matters, and we are not bringing in individuals here. We are pursuing a principled position of saying all corruption matters should be dealt with accordingly by the organization, and it should not be an approach that is termed a selective morality approach, where only certain cases the ANC reacts to and certain cases ANC doesn't react to. It cannot be correct. It cannot be correct. And definitely that's what we mean by decisive leadership from the ANC side. But also, we are not necessarily raising the issue of how Jacob Zuma was treated to necessarily say we expect the same treatment to be given to the current sitting president. No, we are not raising this about names. It's all about the principle that we think the organization must adhere to, and the organization must lead, because it can't be correct that all of a sudden the ANC is quiet on some of these important matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Des, for responding to some of these issues. As revolutionaries, and that is why we started our statement by giving you the historical background of Umkhonto weSizwe, why Umkhonto weSizwe was formed. And we also gave you the examples of the Morogoro Consultative Conference, where MK was always involved and pushed many serious issues that the NEC was not able to address. But Umkhonto weSizwe has been its tradition and culture not to be afraid when the time comes that we must defend the ANC. We can't dig our heads in the sand when we hear people, and not rumors. We hear people, we are mentioning the hashtag, every week there is the hashtags and all those things. And these are the people who are the base of the ANC. I'm not talking about the DA that will insult us. No, I'm not worried about those ones. We are worried about the support base of the ANC, that it's continuously talking to us and saying, comrades, what are you doing? And once your support base starts by raising these issues, you ask yourself as a trained soldier, how many people out there are saying the same thing? He might be polite to me because he respects me. But when they are outside there, that means there are many voices, and we know. Now, we can't keep quiet when our NEC of the ANC, when it's supposed to be decisive. You know, in the previous years, when there was an NEC of the ANC, you wait, you know, you want to hear what are the decisions that have been taken. But presently, since after 2017, in fact, it has become worse. That we hear the NEC even disagreeing among themselves about the statement. So you ask yourself whether we have an NEC that is united, an NEC that the people will have hope on it as a leader of society. So we are not factional here. Comrade Des have explained. And if you listen, we say, we appreciate the decisiveness of President Ramaphosa and the other National Command Council on how they dealt with COVID-19. Many countries failed to do that. That showed leadership and decisiveness. And that's why we're happy about that. But when coming to these things of corruption and unity in the ANC, so we believe in criticism and self-criticism that is constructive. We had classes in Mkhonto season that we criticize amongst ourselves. That is why we're not afraid to issue such a strong statement. Look, you raised the issue of Kusela Tiko and Bandile Masuku. Well, that process has already been, we've been overtaken by the processes. But we expected, rather than making statements, talking too much, we expected the NEC to come up decisively. Comrade, step down. These are the things, allegations against you. That's what we expected, the decisiveness of the leadership. And that's what we expect also from the president, that any of the cabinet ministers are involved. That is decisiveness that we need. And that's what our people want to see happening. But our people, they are saying, no, in the ANC, when you do corruption, they promote you. And it is not all the ANC members who are doing that. It is some members within the African National Congress. Hence, we are calling upon them that, you see, there are graves that have been recently digged and opened somewhere. And we call upon them that in the next NEC, when they sit down, they must bury their factional battles and take and throw those factions in those graves, open graves. We will come as MKMVA with reinforced concrete and bury them. And then we'll have a strong ANC that is a leader of society, that our people will have confidence in. That's what we want the ANC to do. Because normally when you are not criticized, you think things are normal. We are speaking from experience that our percentage from the elections went down. Now, if we don't rise up to the occasion now and wait for the day of the elections, we would have also been part of not advising the ANC correctly. So what we are doing is to tell our people also outside there that here is MKMVA as we derive our existence from the African National Congress. who are also worried just like you. Hence, we are saying we are not going to wait any further, because we took oath that even if we violate it, if the repercussions are to face the firing squad, we're prepared to do that. Now, to correct your own comrades, you must not be afraid, unless if you have got something under the carpet that you have. But in order to have a clean ANC, let's deal with factionalism that is in our leadership. And that's what the people want to hear outside, that we are not afraid to speak and correct our own movement. We must never be cowards. The issue why we are raising this complaint in all the 9 provinces, that we wanted a ministry separate from other departments. We did not get it, but we accepted that it should be included in the Department of Defense. But comrades are saying, comrades, how many, every week in fact we're burying comrades. And it's very painful. Every week. Yes, the department is trying to deliver on houses and education. But those comrades, when they go into their houses, they don't have food to put on the table. So we have been engaging with the departments many a times. The Department of Military Veterans can't solve these problems. It is the entire government departments from national to local that will be able to resolve. And it were not many, but it lacks that issue of willingness. That it seems as if there are comrades who are not willing, who are cadres deployed in government, to assist cadres of Umkhonto weSizwe. And we can't keep quiet forever. History will judge us wrong. So that's why we're raising this issue sharply. Whether other people are going to take it negatively or what. But we are saying constructive criticism is there in Umkhonto weSizwe, and we're implementing it. And we're calling on our president that he must play his role as the head of the organization and as the head of government again. That to be decisive. That's what our people want to see and to hear that voice. And we think by criticizing constructively our movement, that is why we're here in Luthuli House. We're not anywhere. We're here in our revolutionary house, of calling our comrades that in their next NEC meeting, they should consider the views that we have raised in the press conference. Comrade Lugauta.
All right, Kebi Mapatswe there, Umkhonto weSizwe Military Veterans Association holding this briefing following the NEC meeting, starting off by saying no self-respecting nation doesn't take care of its freedom fighters. We should hang our heads in shame. Going on to issues with regards to the ANC, says in order to have a clean ANC, factionalism must be dealt with. Also saying the ANC is in great danger of destroying itself, and they can't let that happen, he says. All corruption must be cleaned up, must do away, emphasizing this throughout the briefing, emphasizing that we must do away with factionalism, saying that the allegations of COVID-19 looting is a litmus test for President Cyril Ramaphosa, and saying that the MKMVA calls on the president to act on all COVID-19 looters, no matter their proximity to him. Then we heard from Desmond Royan as well, answering a question with regards to former President Jacob Zuma, saying that the former president must be provided with a necessary platform to address these allegations against him, but it must be fair. You'll have much more on this and other stories up next. That's a wrap of the agenda. Thank you very much indeed for spending your morning with us. The news continues. I'm going to hand it over to the On Point team. Have yourself a great day, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.